Hello everyone. Thank you for coming to our April 1st Tuesdays. So WGC is a student-led countywide um, advocacy team centered around connecting students across the county. We mainly work to implement our K through 12 climate action plan to help schools measure, reduce, roadmap, and offset their carbon emissions. And we also work to highlight individual efforts of students and share best practices through events like these. Tonight's you will hear from Nayla Southoff, a freshman at Pleasantville High School, who conducted a research project to estimate the greenhouse gas emissions from Pleasantville Middle School using the Cure 100 carbon tracker.
Hi, I'm Nayla. I'm a freshman. And like Austin said, today I'm going to be presenting about the project that I did where I tracked the carbon footprint of Pleasantville Middle School. I did this as my community service project in eighth grade because we're encouraged to do something to help our community. And I thought this was a good idea because climate change is definitely a really big issue that my generation especially should be learning about and trying to fix because we're going to be the ones that are dealing with the consequences. And I thought by doing this project, I could spread awareness on this um, and influence my school to make some changes and also share with others what I did so that maybe they can do the same thing. So I used the Cure 100 carbon tracker to do my calculations. Cure 100 is a really great organization. They're a nonprofit whose goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to net zero, and they provide lots of tools and resources and information so that people can lower their own carbon footprints of their homes and do things like what I did. So Pleasantville Middle School is a really small school, and we don't have school buses, so there are not a lot of carbon emissions from transportation. Um, there are roughly 130 students in each grade, and it supports grades 5 through 8. So before I did anything with the school, I became familiar with the carbon tracker by tracking the carbon footprint of my home. And I think this was really helpful because then by the time I got to calculating the carbon footprint of my school, I was really familiar with the model and was able to navigate it easily. Gathering data was pretty challenging part of the process because a lot of people weren't able to access the data or wouldn't get back to me quickly. But once I gathered the data, it was pretty smooth. There were some obstacles since the carbon tracker is meant to calculate the carbon footprint of a home, but I made some changes to adapt it to the school. And then I created this presentation, and I plan on taking further action by presenting to my superintendent so that hopefully my Pleasantville Middle School can make some changes. So here's the graph for the total results. The total carbon is 1,250.4 tons, and it's broken up into 4 sectors of transportation, heating and gas cooking, electricity, and food and waste. So as you can see from this graph, food and waste is the biggest contributor, which is pretty unusual, but since the school has to feed so many students, it makes sense. So first I'm gonna highlight transportation. So transportation is normally one of the largest factors of the carbon footprint of a home, but unusually it's like one of the not one of the main contributors for the school. But like I mentioned earlier, my school doesn't have a school busing system since my community is so small. So all the school has are 4 vehicles that aren't used very often. However, these vehicles do have an impact, especially the Ford 250 pickup truck. But luckily, there are lots of alternative electric pickup trucks that the school could invest in, such as the Ford 150 Lightning. And this could also be an investment for the school because gas is really expensive, and the school could definitely save some money by purchasing an electric car. And then also, I wasn't able to obtain information on the use of lawnmowers and leaf blowers, so that's not included in in the results. But lawnmowers and leaf blowers definitely still have a very big are a very big contributor to the carbon footprint of the school. So I suggest that we invest in electric lawnmowers. Also, these lawnmowers can emit harmful pollution that can also be harmful to students if they have asthma or any breathing problems. And like I said, here you can see the electric pickup truck would have 0 carbon emissions, which would be great. And right now it has a lot more than 0. Electricity. Electricity is measured in kilowatt hours, and Pleasantville Middle School obtains their electricity from New York Power Authority, which sources their electricity from 80% clean sources, which is really good. But there's still that 20% that's causing emissions from electricity. Electricity is used a lot in the school when powering lights, electronics, appliances, machinery, and more. And obviously charging all this technology and powering it. So some simple steps the school could take would just be to turn off lights and technology when it's not in use. Also, switching all lighting from incandescent to LED bulbs would use 75% less electricity, which is a big bulk of electricity. And the lights are always in use, and there are lots of lights, so that would make a huge difference. And then also, we could switch to 100% clean energy supplier or receive energy from a community solar farm, which you can see by the graph is 50% clean, or purchase rooftop solar, which is 75% clean. Okay, next is heating and gas cooking. So gas and oil are used to heat the school and to heat hot water. Also, using gas and oil for heating causes air quality issues, which can have effects like asthma for students, just like gas lawnmowers. So, firstly, the school could just enlist in an HVAC maintenance system to ensure that those systems are working well. And also, receiving an oil mixture with 20% biodiesel, here you can see is cleaner than just regular pure diesel. And then a simple thing is to just go through a building energy assessment to make sure that the school is well insulated so we're not losing any energy and nothing's being wasted. And then there are lots of alternative heating systems. We could switch from oil and gas to electric, but then we need to make sure that our electricity is coming from clean sources because otherwise it wouldn't really make a difference. And then air source heat pumps and ground source heat pumps are a great option because you can see here they're bring down emissions from heating and gas to net 0. So that would be ideal. Food and waste. So this is unusual that food and waste is a really big contributor. But like I said, the school does need to feed so many students for breakfast and lunch. And a lot of this food is meat, and meat emits a large bulk of greenhouse gases. Also, the school wraps lots of food and uses plastic forks, and lots of unnecessary plastic is just always wasted. So that's a lot of waste. Some suggestions are just to eliminate this excess plastic because it's not needed, and we could use recyclable forks or reusable forks. And then also eliminating food waste because there's a lot of food waste that happens at the school. But for a compost bin could be provided for these food scraps because right now my school only has recycling and regular trash, but even the separation of recycling and regular trash is not very well enforced. So that could definitely be enforced. And like I said, meat has a huge impact on carbon emissions. So serving less meat would make a huge difference. As you can see from the graph, when meat is cut out from people's diets, the annual CO2 emissions go down a whole lot. So goods and services is a section in the carbon tracker, but it measures the amount of carbon emissions that are emitted when a household, or in this case, a school, purchases goods and services such as supplies and landscaping. But it's really difficult to estimate the total carbon of the supply chain, especially for a school, since the carbon tracker was really adapted for a home. So I decided not to include it in the total for my report, but it's still an important contributor that should be addressed. So here I have some suggestions, such as limiting purchasing of harmful materials such as plastic, and also just not repurchasing supplies every year. And to do that, we could just make sure to treat our supplies well and invest in better quality materials so we don't have to repurchase every single year. And then also just purchasing these supplies, foods, and goods from local sources so that carbon emissions aren't emitted from the transportation of these goods, and sustainable sources. Um, so clearly, the school has a very huge impact on the carbon footprint of the community, and it's really important to not overlook schools when thinking about lowering the overall carbon footprint of a community, because the school carbon footprint is 1,250.4 tons, which is equal to 20 households. So that's definitely a very big impact. Also, the school should really be leading society in achieving net zero by educating young people who can really make a difference. And hopefully, this presentation will influence my school into making some changes to the school that would lower its carbon footprint, and also provide information to others that could maybe do the same thing to their school.
All right, thank you. So we're going to take some questions now. Does anybody have questions for Nayla?
I just wanted to compliment you and say that it seems like your research was super comprehensive. And I'm wondering what sort of impact, if any, you had, because this was done when you were in middle school. So I'm wondering if you had any impact in middle school and what your hoped for impact will be now that you're in high school.
Well, really, my main goal is just mainly to influence my school in making these changes. And yeah, that's still my goal right now. But I definitely also want to share these goals with other people so that they can do the same.
Well, I just want to say absolutely spectacular presentation. Really, really good.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ellen. And now, did you have I mean, that was a really comprehensive, thoughtful work that you did. Now, did you have any help from other students or teachers or mentors? And how did that come about?
Well, I definitely had a lot of help from Chandu, which um, he he's I think he founded Cure 100. He definitely helped me a lot by he even like changed some aspects of the carbon tracker so that I could adapt it better to the school. Like for example, I couldn't put in the full amount of oil because a home wouldn't usually use so much oil that a school uses. So he changed that limit for me in the carbon tracker so I could input that.
Wonderful. Great job. Fantastic job. Really, really good.
Thank you.
Uh, I have a question. So do you see Cure 100 being used as a carbon tracker for other schools? Do you think you could do it on like a wider scale, or do you think sort of a new carbon tracker would be needed to calculate for schools on like a much larger scale?
I think it could definitely be used. Like I said, it was altered just a little bit, but it's definitely possible for larger schools as well.
Well, sorry, I have to ask the question. Now that you're in high school, are you thinking of taking on the high school in the same way?
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. After I finish presenting to my superintendent for this, maybe I will do that.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you, Nayla. That was amazing.
Let's give Whale a round of applause. That was really good job. Really good job. Thank you.
So as we all know, today is April 1st. So that means it's our first month of starting the 100 Schools Challenge. So the 100 Schools Challenge is initiative to give our sustainability mission across 100 schools, which we plan to do. So for our 100 Schools Challenge, what we all want everybody to do is to review and share our pledge. So our pledge, it should be posted in the chat box and in your emails for all of you to sign and share with your superintendents of your respective schools or teachers. And for starting our 100 Schools Challenge, we would like everybody to measure their school's footprint with the UNFCCC calculator, and then using our Eco Passport or implementing the Grid Rewards project, which Carter will share with us, or a project of our choice. And at the end of the month, we would like everybody to share the results with us, and the winner would receive a prize and also get to participate in our World Environment Day conference, which will be on June 5th, which is a hybrid and in-person event. So Carter, I'll give it to you.
Got it. So Grid Rewards is basically an app that addresses the problem of peaker plants, which are older and more harmful power plants that release more carbon into the air, making them worse for the environment, as well as other toxic chemicals that make it extremely harmful for the health of the citizens living around these peaker plants, which are often low income and people of color neighborhoods. So the way that Grid Rewards addresses this issue is that it incentivizes people to reduce their energy usage during peak demand times, which typically happens on hot summer days when there's a lot of demand for cooling. It's a very simple app to use. There's only about 5 to 10 energy reductions annually for about 3 to 4 hours, where you can barely notice a difference within your own home. And users are just simply notified that they need to adjust their usage around these times. And they can, on average, annually make about $100 per family. I actually just recently got my check from the last Grid Rewards event for my family, which is very nice. And what's great about Grid Rewards is that they have also created an app called SmartKit AI, which is basically the version of Grid Rewards for larger groups of buildings or institutions such as schools. And these businesses can make up thousands of dollars. New Rochelle School System has earned over $24,000 in the summer of 2023. And it's a great way to get your school to, contribute to the fight against climate change.
Thank you, Carter. I just wanted to add that between Grid Rewards, between the calculators that Nayla just shared from Cure 100 and the UNFCCC calculator that we use, and other materials that we have as part of this 100 School Challenge, we can support you all along the month and beyond. So we really encourage everybody to sign that pledge so we can get started and go take action throughout the entire month. And Carter is available. He's the guru about all things Grid Rewards. So if anybody has any questions about that or otherwise, the email for Westchester is westchestergreencountyusa@gmail.com.
Alrighty. Well, if nobody has any more questions, I think we can wrap it up there. One last round for questions. Alrighty. So thank you everyone for coming to our first Tuesday's event. This is great. And I hope to see you at the next one. Thank you.